All right, welcome back, Husker fans. I want to start off by apologizing. I have been severely under the weather this weekend. This past weekend, was in bed the whole weekend. Wasn't throwing up, just really bad sinus infection, body aches. So I'm starting to kind of get past it, kind of on the tail end of this sickness. So. Huge win for the Huskers Saturday. Took care of business against the Gophers, but today I wanted to do a big-time preview for the game of the century, Nebraska at Michigan. Top 5 matchup. The Huskers are 20-0, 9-0 in the conference, taking on Michigan, 18-1, 8-1 in the conference. So let's get into, first things first, this Michigan team is gigantic. Huge team. Let's get into their team stats because this is one of the most efficient offenses and defenses we've ever seen. So they're averaging 91.7 points per game. That's 8th nationally. They're allowing 68.6 points per game. That's top 60 nationally. Their field goal percentage as a team is 52%. That is 5th nationally. That's incredible. 3-point percentage, not quite as elite. They're shooting 35% from 3 this season. That's slightly below where Nebraska's at. They're 128th nationally. And for anyone that doesn't know, I think there's 364 Division I teams. Hang on. .364 Division I men's basketball teams. So when I do these national ranks, take it into the context of there's 364 total teams. Very different than football, right, where there's like 132. So 128th nationally, while it looks bad, it really isn't. It's better than middle of the pack. Rebounds per game. This is where their size plays a huge factor. They're averaging 42.3 rebounds per game. That's 9th nationally. Assists per game. They're averaging, this is better than Nebraska, 19.2 assists per game. That's 8th nationally. Excuse me, getting over this sickness. Now here's a really interesting metric. Fast break points per game. They're averaging 15.26 a game. That's 35th nationally. So they turn the ball over at a high rate, or they force turnovers at a high rate. Their field goal percentage defense, this is what's most impressive. They're only allowing teams to shoot 36.45% from the field against them. That's 2nd nationally. I mean, so going through all those statistics, this is a very efficient basketball team. They got a ton of guys from the transfer portal, a ton of size, a talented roster, a lot of different scoring options. They're versatile. Okay, let's get into their stats leaders. I've got a graphic for you here. So you can see Yaxel Lindeborg, if I'm saying that wrong, pardon me. He's a UAB transfer. The Blazers, baby. So a UAB transfer, he's their leading scorer with 14.4 points per game. He's averaging 7.2 rebounds and 3.2 assists. Also, my God, 1.5 steals and 1.4 blocks per game. That is insane. Look at his field goal percentage, 51.4%. Then Morez Johnson Jr., 13.7 points per game, 7 rebounds, 1.2 assists. You see the depth they've got. I mean, my God, this is the most balanced team that we've looked at this season in terms of scoring. They don't have 1 or 2 guys that are dominating in points per game. It's very, very distributed, or it's distributed evenly. I mean, this is balance for you guys. Let me do this so you guys can see. Just so you can get it, let me get that graphic out of the way. But you can see, look at the distribution. I mean, even their 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys. They've got 9 guys that can score and put up, and fill out the stat sheet. I mean, that is unbelievable balance for this team. Okay, let's get into. Hang on. Let's look at their schedule. So you can see They've scored 100-plus points multiple times this season. They can score in a variety of ways. We showed you their depth. But they have an impressive resume, guys. I mean, you see they beat Auburn earlier in the season by 30. Auburn was ranked 21st at the time. They absolutely annihilated Gonzaga, who was 12th at the time. Beat them by 40 points. I mean, look at that. I mean, every game they're scoring over 100. I mean, my God, they beat USC by 30. Now, then, when they played Penn State on the road, that was a close game. And then they lost to Wisconsin at home, which was a huge shocker. But since they've gotten into Big Ten play, you can see the games are getting closer. It's a hard conference. They're not scoring as many points. The margin of victory is lower. But this is still one of the best teams in the country. I mean, you look at their resume. They beat Ohio State by 12. They beat Indiana by 14. Washington, they beat by 10, slaughtered USC. They beat Villanova, slaughtered Maryland. So the games are getting closer in Big Ten play, but this is still a team that has dominated the majority of their schedule all season long. Let's get into their projected starting lineup. So this was their starting lineup against Ohio State in their last game. But it starts off with their point guard, Elliot Cadeau, I don't know. Point guard, 6'1", 180 pounds. He was a transfer from North Carolina. He's their sharpshooter from three. He's shooting 42% from three on the season. Then it's shooting guard. It's Namari Burnett, 6'5", 195 pounds. And then small forward, Morez Johnson Jr., 6'9", 250 pounds. Look how big they are. Yaxel Lindeborg, the power forward, 6'9", 240. And then their giant center, Ade Mara, 7'3", 255 pounds. This is a huge team. Gigantic. I mean, Nebraska is going to have their work cut out for them on the glass this game. But that'll likely be their starting lineup. They do rotate. They'll have about 8 or 9 guys that'll play in total. All right, let's get into their strengths, and there's a lot of them. So the first strength for Michigan, number 1, elite two-way efficiency. So they're not just winning, they're dominating on both ends of the court. According to Advanced Analytics, KenPom, the Wolverines have one of the highest efficiency margins ever, ranking in the top 10 in defensive rating and top 5 in offensive rating nationally. That balance between elite offense and defense is rare, and it's fueled their success in this season. They excel in limiting opponent scoring. They force tough shots. They've got length. They block a lot of shots, and they score at a high rate, and they maintain discipline and ball movement. They have this. They're second in the nation in assists per game. I showed you that earlier. Where is that? Assists per game. Sorry, 8th nationally in assists per game, 19.2. So they're not just throwing up alley-oops, hitting threes, playing one-on-one. They're moving the basketball at a high rate. Okay. All right. Their second strength, offensive versatility and scoring depth. We already looked at their team leaders. This offense features multiple scoring options and efficiency across their lineups. They have had games where 5 players score in double figures, showing scoring depth beyond just 1 or 2 stars like a lot of the teams Nebraska's played this year. They frequently have scored 100-plus points in games, a sign of both talent and consistent execution. And then breakout sharpshooting from guards like Elliot Cadeau. I don't know how to say it. He's shooting 42% from 3 this season. That adds an entirely another dimension to their offense, forces defense to respect their perimeter threat. But this variety makes it difficult for teams to key on 1 or 2 guys for them. Third strength of the Wolverines. You probably could have guessed this one. Strength on the boards and inside presence. They've got Ade Mara, 7'3", inside its center. I mean, our tallest guy is 6'11" for Nebraska. So in key wins, they've dominated rebounding margins, such as 41-25 board advantage in their most recent win. They've got multiple front court players that can contribute consistently on the glass, provide inside scoring, toughness, and second chance opportunities. I mean, this is one of the best rebounding teams in the country, 42 rebounds per game. This fuels their transition game. You saw their fast break points is one of the best in the country, and it also limits opponents' second chance scoring options. So they're going to get theirs on the glass. Nebraska has held their own against, really good rebounding teams, but this is just a whole nother animal with their size, with their talent, with their depth. It's going to be difficult. Okay, so let's get into their weaknesses. So number one for Michigan, turnover troubles and offensive lapses. One recurring issue this season has been their propensity to turn the ball over and struggle with offensive consistency at times. So turnovers, lack of ball security, especially early in games and in key moments, it can stall their offensive rhythm and lead to easy opponent scoring opportunities. And their opponents have exploited these miscues in big games, Wisconsin most notably, and sloppy possession management remains a concern. So at times they've turned the ball over and they can have lapses offensively. 2, inconsistent shooting and scoring droughts. Despite a potent offense overall, they've shown vulnerability with stretches of inefficient shooting. So recent games report their three-point shooting in their last few games has been around 26%. That's well below their season average. Against Oregon, their first half was really slow. They had a big-time cold spell. They've had cold shooting nights, particularly from beyond the arc. And that can limit how effective, the offense spaces the floor and puts pressure on defenses. So inconsistent shooting and scoring droughts. And then third weakness, foul trouble and depth issues in certain spots. So depth and front court management have caused issues in certain situations. When they face foul trouble with key players, it restricts their minutes, gets them out of rhythm, especially against physical teams. Nebraska's a physical team. They don't have a reliable backup point guard, and that puts extra pressure on Elliot Cadeau. But again, those weaknesses, it took me a while to dig up some stuff on what they do that's a weakness. I mean, those are, the turnovers, it doesn't happen often. Inconsistent shooting hasn't been, that's not been a consistent trend for them. And the foul trouble, that's a few games this season. So, I had to really do some digging. This is a very balanced team. Let's get into the game flow prediction. So I see this being a very low-scoring game. I do. I see it being a defensive battle. I see Michigan dominating the glass in the first half, trying to out-physical us. They're going to feed the ball to Ade Mara. They're going to feed it to Yaxel Lindeborg and Morez Johnson. I don't think Nebraska is going to shoot very well in the first half. I think Michigan will have an advantage of like 28, 26, something like that. They will dominate the glass in the first half, but I think ultimately the second half, this is what we've seen from Hoiberg, Nebraska is going to make adjustments. I think in the second half, we're going to see ranked Mast, Sanford start to hit from three. I think Mast is going to be our scoring leader. I think we're going to see him get back to what he's capable of doing. It's going to showcase his versatility. I think Michigan's going to turn the ball over late. Against Nebraska's high-pressure, no-middle defense, I think they're going to take advantage of that. So I think first half's going to be Michigan, second half's going to be all Huskers. Game prediction. Huskers 68, Wolverines 64. This may make a lot of you go, are you kidding me? There's no way it's going to be that low scoring with Michigan's versatility and scoring depth on offense. Well, argue with me as much as you want in the comments, but I think this is going to be a low-scoring defensive battle. I think the Huskers prevail at Chrysler Arena on the road 68-64 for a monumental win in the game of the century, baby. Game of the century 2 in a different sport. I think Rank Mass will be our scoring leader. I think Sanford will have 14. I think Buyukton Gel will lead us in rebounds with 6. That's going to be impressive to get 6 against this team in Michigan. I think Jamarcus Lawrence is going to lead us in steals with 4 of them. Quick hands. He's always playing with active hands. He's our quickest player. And then I think Hoiberg's going to lead us in assists. I think he's going to continue to distribute the ball at a high level. He'll dribble and take it to the rim when he needs to, kick it out, find guys open from 3. I think he's going to be a big-time contributor in this game. So I see the Huskers pulling this one out, 68-64. I'm calling it the game of the century number 2 in a different sport. I am so excited for this one. I think it's going to be I think the environment is going to be electric. I think Ann Arbor is going to be rocking. I just think it's going to be a phenomenal basketball game. I don't think Nebraska is a team that can get blown out. I don't see that happening at all this season. We're too disciplined on both sides of the ball. We're very well coached. I think a big key in this one is going to be Frager's availability, Braden Frager. I haven't talked much about him. I think he's going to play. I think he's going to get a considerable amount of minutes. They said that his ankle injury was day to day. I think he'll come in and contribute. But I think ultimately this game's going to come down to Nebraska's three-point shooting in the second half. Rank Mass, Price Sanfort, Jamarcus Lawrence. And I think we're going to force us considerable amount of turnovers in the second half to help us win this game. I think Michigan will dominate the glass. That's happened to us this season, and we still win games, right? But I think Nebraska's defense and our ability to turn the ball over at a high rate is going to be the difference. Huskers get the victory by 4 points on the road to go 21-0. Let me know your thoughts. Leave comments. I love getting comments from you guys. I love when there's a lot of engagement. I apologize for not doing a Minnesota recap, but the Huskers took care of business. I was horribly sick this whole weekend, so pray that I keep getting over the sickness hump. But yeah, don't forget, you guys, like, subscribe if you enjoy my content. I'm trying to be as consistent as I can, putting out content for you guys, even when I'm sick. But please tell your friends about me. Tell them to tune in, check me out. I really appreciate it. Huskers at Michigan tomorrow night, 6 p.m. on Peacock. It's going to be a huge basketball game. This is the most excited I've ever been for a Nebraska basketball game. I can't wait. I think it's going to be a hell of a game. Tune in on Peacock. Go Big Red. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. We'll do a recap of the Michigan game likely on Wednesday or Thursday. Don't forget to tune in for that. Have a great week. And like always, go Big Red, baby.